Well, chaos breaking out in downtown Chicago on Saturday night as hundreds of young people crowded the streets. And the video coming from this shocking, showing massive groups jumping on cars, causing tourists to flee the sound of gunfire.
A lot of times that father, they're not even there to say anything. They're not there to correct anything. They're not there to redirect anything. They're not there to teach. When you're a father, you are a teacher. When you're a mother, you are a teacher. It's Hicks Uncensored. I'm back with another one. If you're new here, welcome. If you're already a subscriber, thank you. I do try to read as many of you guys' comments as I possibly can. And some of you may know that I do comment back, but thank you. I want to show you guys this quick clip because as I take a look at something and I view something, it provokes thought within my mind. Let's take a look at this.
Well, shooting leaves a 17-year-old dead after a large gathering in the South Loop this weekend.
Today, the teen's family called for charges in his death. WDN Shannon Halligan has the details. Shannon?
Yeah, family members say high school senior Jeremy Smith learned about the meetup on social media. They said he was in the wrong place when gunshots were fired.
We need help clearing this out. It's an active crime scene. You got a whole bunch of people over here. You need some help over here.
Chicago police officers were in the area near Roosevelt and Canal Saturday night. They were responding to a gathering of some 200 teens around 8 p.m. when someone started shooting.
There was an altercation down there. Even though they had eyes in the sky and had the officers on the streets too, those were not...
You know, they always go to him. And I hate to pause it. I'm working on that. There's certain things that I need to say as I see it. They always go to this guy. And one of the things that I see, he's not saying what he needs to be saying, which could provoke thought in the minds of these people. And I understand why that is. No one can be real anymore. No one can be authentic anymore because they have to be so concerned of someone being offended about what they say. No matter how truthful it is, they have to be concerned about what someone's gonna say, what someone's gonna think, because they always go to this guy and he say the same thing over, which is a bunch of nothing. I'm here to tell you, all of these damn teenagers grouping up together is nothing but trouble. It's nothing but trouble waiting to happen. It's nearly guaranteed trouble. Many of them go out there with intentions of doing shit that they know that they have no business doing. But of course he can't say that here on the news. They will never allow him to, even if he wanted to say it. I'm not saying that all of them go out there looking for trouble. I'm saying that there's a pretty fair amount of them that go out and getting into trouble is fun for them. We've seen this many, many times. We've seen this last year, the year before, the year before, and the year before. And then everybody wants to get on the news, everybody wants to get on the media as if they don't know what's going on. We know exactly what's going on. These children are lying to their parents, telling their parents that they're in places that they're not, and they're taking their asses downtown, and they're getting into trouble, and in this case, they're getting killed. We've seen this before. This is not the first time that this happened. And so that you can see what I'm saying, so that you can see that I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to play you some more video clips. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, chaos breaking out in downtown Chicago on Saturday night as hundreds of young people crowded the streets. And the video coming from this shocking, showing massive groups jumping on cars, causing tourists to flee the sound of gunfire. 2 teens were hospitalized after they were shot in all of this. News Nation affiliate WGN's Courtney Spinelli has the latest on the city's response.
Right now, things are much quieter than last night when hundreds of young people flooded this area, prompting a massive police response. During it, 2 teens were shot and rushed to the hospital, both said to be in fair condition. This right here is what it looked like on the streets of Chicago Saturday night.
We had people jumping on cars. This is insane.
Large numbers of young people crowding the area of the Loop from Michigan Avenue to Clark Street and could be seen jumping on parked cars and smashing windows. 2 times, groups of teens were also seen punching, kicking, and stomping on someone on the ground.
The crime in Chicago is simply out of hand. It's nuts.
A mob of teens filled the streets, climbing onto cars, damaging the vehicles and businesses in the neighborhood. WGN's Kelly Davis has more.
A lot of these little motherfuckers, they don't have any business going downtown Chicago. The majority of their parents don't even know where they are. On top of that, like I mentioned, they lie to their parents. Most of their parents can't even control them. Most of their parents have absolutely no control over them. You may say it's offensive, you may not like what I say, but it's the truth. Since the beginning of time, truth has offended people. I'll finish the video.
Enough eyes to find the person that discharged this weapon as of yet.
Community activist Andrew Holmes joined Rhonda Baker, whose son was shot during the altercation.
I wish I was there, of course, but I couldn't do nothing. I don't know. My son don't tell me everything.
Her son, 17-year-old Jeremy Smith, later died as a result of his injuries. His stepfather said they got the call late Saturday night.
Let me pause it right here because he's not gonna say much of anything any damn way. Again, I told you, these teenagers, they lie to their parents. They tell their parents that they're in places that they are actually not in, and they take their asses downtown. Children have got to listen to their parents because when you don't, shit like this happens. Rules, standards are here to protect you. If there's any young man listening to me right now, your parents are telling you things for your own good. You have to train yourself to listen to them. Many of you go downtown and it's nearly guaranteed that there's some kind of conflict that's gonna take place. Stay away from large crowds. Stay away from trouble. Stay away from those who get in trouble. Because you can simply be drugged into trouble simply by being around those who create trouble. You may not even have nothing to do with it, but you're around people that are no good. You are around people who aren't any good. You guys want to go downtown, you want to cause ruckus, you want to cause all sorts of foolishness, you want to stand on top of vehicles. These are the things that go on. I'm gonna play you a video clip.
People tell me hundreds of teens poured off the L here at the Belmont Red Line stop. They swarmed the streets and caused chaos throughout the neighborhood. This is the scene that unfolded just after 10 o'clock last night. Hundreds of teens took to the streets, shutting down Belmont for hours.
There was no celebration yesterday. It was just pure chaos.
Rowdy Hashish is the manager of the Slice Shop. The restaurant, just steps from the Belmont Red Line stop, was surrounded. He shared this video he took from inside the store of teens dancing on cars and drinking in the streets.
Right away, we decided to close both the store and the restaurant, and we stayed all night watching, making sure nobody broke in or, nobody vandalized our business.
CPD officers worked to control the crowd and move them out of the area, but the teens left behind a path of destruction. People were horrified by the extent of the damage this morning. Shoe prints on cars, hoods dented, windshields broken.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Grace Rowan said she even heard gunshots and was too scared to leave her apartment.
It has been very chaotic, and as somebody who's lived in Lakeview for honestly the past 3 years, it's very scary to see how things have changed over time.
People are hoping the city steps up to prevent this from happening again.
These are the type of things that take place. It's nothing but chaos, dysfunction, and trouble. And young man, if you're listening to me, if anybody is listening to me, stay your ass away from people who you know get in trouble. But the problem is you are kind of like them. You love that kind of stupidity. You're tied in with the dysfunction. When you see these large crowds, I am telling you right now, stay away from a large crowd. There is nothing but trouble, buffoonery, stupidity, and chaos that will take place. You are putting your life in danger simply by being around many of these little hooligans, because that's what they are. Many of them don't want to listen to anything. This is the reason that these things are going on year after year after year after year. Their parents don't have an ounce of control over them. Many of these teenagers, they come in the house when they want to. They leave the house when they want to. They do whatever the fuck they want to do with no restrictions. Their parents have no control over them. A lot of them, they only live with their mother. There's no structure in their household. They have not been brought up and reared with a respect for authority. They have not been brought up and reared with respect for a man, which is that father. A lot of times that father, they're not even there to say anything. They're not there to correct anything. They're not there to redirect anything. They're not there to teach. When you're a father, you are a teacher. When you're a mother, you are a teacher. There are too many people having children that you should not be having. You have to teach to your child as they come up to identify danger, to identify someone who's no good so that you can stay away from them, to identify those who you have no business being around. A lot of these little teenagers, they don't know. They're just out here moving. They're just out here doing shit. They don't know that that in which they're doing is going to be the cost of their lives. The foolishness that they engage in will cost them their lives. The stupidity and ignorance that they engage in can cost them their lives. I'm not just talking. I live here. I've seen this take place. Young man, young woman, if you just so happen to run across this video, stay your ass away from large crowds. Stay your ass away from people who get in trouble. Stay your ass away from people who are confrontational. Stay your ass away from the nonsense. Because you never know when some foolishness might pop off and it just so happened to lead to your death. But by that time, it'll be too late. This young man called himself want to go down there and have some fun. Young man, you can have fun 1,000 other ways. You can have fun where it's safe at. You can have fun around people who are not doing nonsense. You can have fun around people who are not getting in trouble and fighting. You can have fun somewhere else. See, I'm young enough to still understand them, but I'm old enough to know. It wasn't that long ago that I was a teenager myself. But see, when I was a teenager, we never really did dumb shit like this. Go downtown in this big ass mob, standing on top of cars, breaking windows, destroying property. We never did any of this. You can thank your United States government for this. As I mentioned before, I know that that's a statement that will fly over the heads of many people. They're not gonna understand why I say that. The United States government, along with your laws, your policies, your judicial system, you created this. They don't even listen to the police. There's no respect for authority. And we know that all teenagers are not like this. I shouldn't have to say all. You should automatically know that I'm not talking about all.
You can see she's going through a lot this weekend. You know, we had got the call. And that's a call that no parent won't, no loved one won't. And Jeremy, you know, he was a decent dude, you know. He wasn't in no criminal affairs, no records.
The family said Smith went downtown with friends after seeing the meeting posted on social media, but that he didn't share that information with them.
You gotta monitor your children, you know. Sometimes, you know, children say you're gonna be over here at this address and they'll migrate to somewhere else. And that's being a problem right now, you know, to you young youth, man. You know, don't lie and don't lie to those that love you.
A 15-year-old was also shot at the gathering, but was listed in fair condition. According to CPD, 8 teens were arrested and charged with misdemeanors following the gathering. However, charges have not yet been filed in Smith's death.
His mother was expecting to open the door to a graduation this year, not to close the door to a funeral.
As the shooter in the teen takeover by witnesses has been released without any charges. At least 8 other teens and 1 adult are facing charges after violence erupted in the South Loop Saturday. During the chaos, 2 teens were shot. 17-year-old Jeremy Smith died at the hospital. The other teen was shot in the leg and is in fair condition. Chicago police say close to 500 teenagers gathered right at Roosevelt and Canal after a social media post was made. Those arrested and charged are between the ages of 14 and 18. They are all charged with disorderly conduct, assault, and reckless conduct. Mayor Brandon Johnson spoke out about the teen takeover.
Any young man out there, at the sound of my voice, if you don't stay away from stupidity, if you continue to participate within stupidity, if you don't stay away from these large crowds full of fools. You're gonna end up getting in some trouble. You might end up losing your life. There's nothing fun about that. There's nothing fun about being in these. See, you think it's fun until something dumb happens. A few months ago, it was a young girl who got stabbed. They were downtown, these large groups. There's nothing but chaos that's going to take place. People arguing, getting into it with one another. She got into a fight with some girls and they stabbed her.
Chicago police charged 18-year-old Egypt Otis with first-degree murder in the death of 16-year-old Heaven Taylor. Police say Otis fatally stabbed the teenage girl in the Loop Tuesday night near Van Buren and Federal.
Now, Valen Terrell, the medical examiner, just identified the girl as Heaven Taylor. They list her as 16 years old, not 17 years old as police originally listed. Now, authorities say Taylor was stabbed twice in the chest. She was rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where she later died. Now, it happened at around 11:30 last night underneath the L tracks near Van Buren and Dearborn. Police put up crime tape and blocked off the area. Several evidence markers were placed in the middle of the street as investigators search for evidence to solve this murder. Police tell us Heaven Taylor was with a group of people when an argument broke out with another group of people. An unknown female pulled out a knife and stabbed Taylor 2 times in the chest and then ran off.
Again, as I've mentioned, they're downtown, they're in these areas, and they're doing nothing but getting into it with one another. There's a lot of discrepancies with one another. There's a lot of verbal altercations with one another, which leads to physical altercations with one another, and somebody ends up dead. 16 years old, loss of life. A lot of these 16 years old, they don't know nothing about nothing. A lot of these little teenagers, they don't know anything about anything. There are no standards. Standards will protect you. Listen to your parents. It could save your life. Listen to your parents. It could potentially save your life. The way I view things and the way that I think, why in the hell is a 16-year-old out at 11:30 something at night anyway? That's the way I think. You shouldn't even be out there, number one. Number two, you shouldn't even be hanging around the type of individuals that you're hanging around. That's number two. But the reason that you hang around them is because you're just like them. You are the company that you keep. I don't give a damn what nobody say. An overwhelming majority of the time, you are the type of company that you keep around. You're hanging around nothing but death and destruction. You're hanging around nothing but dysfunction. And it is a matter of time until that dysfunction strikes you. Stay out of crowds. Learn how to identify those who you should not be around, who cause conflict and trouble. Start doing your own thing. That's what I did as a teenager. How many times do we have to see this? This is not the first time. These things happen over and over and over again, all throughout the year. Why don't you look at some of these things that have taken place in the past so that you can learn from it, so you can know what not to do, so you can know what to avoid? You have to sometimes look at history and learn from history so that it can benefit you here in the present. See, I can relate to these teenagers. I know how to talk to them. I used to work in a juvenile detention center with teenagers just like that. But these teenagers, they're not being told the truth. Everything is being censored. Everything is being watered down. Everything is being diluted. They're not being warned of danger. You get on the news is nothing but a bunch of censorship. There's censorship everywhere, and I'm here to tell you, stay your ass out of the street or you can end up like this young lady. Stay your ass out of the street or you might end up in prison. You're gonna end up in hardship. You're gonna end up fighting with somebody. Do you really wanna go? You young and you don't know, but I'm here to tell you, save yourself the heartache. Listen to those who have experienced these things, or listen to those who can give you great information to keep you away from these things. Standards will protect you. If your mother says that she don't want you going somewhere, listen to your mother. If your father says that he don't want you hanging around certain people, listen to your father, because they're telling you that to protect you. They want to see you graduate. They don't want to see you laying in the damn coffin. They want to see you going off to college or whatever it is you're going to do to prosper. They don't want to see your life being ended at 18. And if you don't stop, This bullshit that you doing in these streets, downtown, causing a bunch of ruckus, it is a matter of time until some shit happen to you. The likelihood of something bad happening with you is extremely high. Stay your ass away from nonsense. Then you're not gonna have to worry about fighting nobody. You're not gonna have to worry about getting into it with somebody. You're not gonna have to worry about somebody trying to stab you. Listen to me, I love you. I love your little ass enough to tell you the truth. I love your little ass enough to tell you what you need to hear. I love your motherfucking ass enough to give you this game, this information. If you take this information and you utilize it, you can save yourself from going through a lot of trouble, young man, young woman. This is Hicks Uncensored. It's called Uncensored for a reason.